You'll hear my conversation with Meaza Mohammed about her work as a reporter in Ethiopia. So stick around for that. My guest today is Meaza Mohammed. She is an Ethiopian journalist, advocate, and the founder of Roha TV, which is a independent YouTube-based news channel. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just start with your news channel. Why did you start an independent news channel? What kinds of stories do you focus on?
Yeah, my new YouTube channel, actually, previously I was working as an employee in different news stations. I was a teacher too. Meanwhile, in our country, all medias are under the broadcast authority. So you cannot have your own independent news, independent reporters, so that you cannot do what you like to do. You are doing what you're supposed to do.
The state-owned media.
Yeah. So what I am planning is just to have our independent news center, news media, to make reports, to put political opinions, and to advocate for human rights. So the platform that was easier for me was the YouTube platform. Actually, after we start our YouTube platform, again, the government started to put in registration for the YouTube channel also. We have to be registered under the broadcast authority again, but still it is a good platform in order to use what you want to do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I saw that in February, the Ethiopian government blocked access to a bunch of social media sites, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, I believe. Why did they do that? And what has that meant for people's ability to get news?
Actually, it's normal in Ethiopia, to block internets whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a kind of situations which the government think that's not comfortable for them. If they have a kind of violence things, they start to block everything. They start to arrest journalists, activists. The thing in February was there was a kind of disagreement with the Christian Orthodox Church. So people were against that, and then even the Orthodox Church called for demonstration, a huge demonstration all over the country. So what the government did is shut up the internet connections, and then arresting different journalists, media, closing medias, even activists were in prison. Still, there are many activists who are in prison due to that case. So whenever there's something happening in the country, we know that internet will be closed.
Right.
So we try to look some other opportunities, like using VPNs and something like that.
Right.
We are almost adopting that. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are nimble. I know that you, some of your colleagues, other journalists you just mentioned, have been arrested or detained by the police. What was their reasoning behind harassing you?
Yeah, the thing that we've been arrested, the reason is actually that, as I told you, if there's something happen in the country, they know that if we are not under arrest, we will work for the people. We will watch independent news. We will advocate what's right for. We think that. So they just put the thing. For the first time I was arrested by Abiy Ahmed administration was under the command post. We had a kind of state of emergency during the war. So at that time, they charged, actually there was no charging because it is under state of emergency. They just put you in the jail and then they forget you. That's what happened to me. No court, no charges. Yeah, they take me to the prison, and then they put me for 40 days.
40 days?
40 days, yes. 40 days, 4 days. Then they leave me alone. There is no going to court. There is no charge. There is nothing that happened to me. But they were accusing me for working with TPLF, which won't happen. Working with TPLF and working against working with the enemies of the country and something like that. So I was in prison with a lot of Tigrayans who were under the command post prison. That was happened to me. At that time, there was also a conflict in Amhara regional state. So we don't know what's the connection. I live in the capital city, but the thing was happening in the Amhara regional state. And then again, they put me in prison because they said she's working with those making the violence. Because what we are doing is we advocate what people are asking. We write reports what people are trying to ask, what the demonstration says. So they don't want to build this. And they think, the government thinks that silencing journalists is silencing the people. That's how it works.
Basically, they're saying, so we'll get into the Civil War. I mean, there's been this Civil War happening since, I think, November of 2020 until November of last year. There was a ceasefire between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF, who are an organization in the northern Tigray region, right, of Ethiopia, sort of the former government, a lot of former government officials up there. And they're basically saying, you're working for the other side of the Civil War because you're doing reporting.
Yeah. For your information, the war is not only in Tigray regional states, but also it takes place in 3 regional states: the Afar regional state, the Amhara regional state, and the Tigray regional state. We call it the northern war or the northern conflict. So there are so many. Actually, they were the federal government, high official of the federal government, and then after the change has come, they moved to the Tigray regional state, and then the fight is between the Tigray regional states and with the federal government. I always call it the war is the politicians' war, not the people. That was what I am advocating for. I was telling for people, this war is not the issue of the people. This war is a conflict between the politicians for the sake of their power, for the sake of their power. That's the only thing that I can say. So this was the thing that the federal government makes it against me. And they said it is the issue of national interest. It is the issue of the people. So Meaza is working against the national interest of her country. So this propaganda was really bad for me. It hurts me. Even the people were advocating against me.
Yeah.
They were asking the government for me to be in prison. Actually, what we have spent, it's more than my prison. Being in prison 3 times in a year is simple when you compare it, that losing 500,000 people in a year.
Yeah.
So it's normal for me because I am living under the worst scenario in my country. So the thing that they were blaming me is that I am saying the war doesn't belong to all people. It belongs to the politicians, and the politicians have a round table to discuss. Then that's what they are doing now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned the death toll of 500,000 people killed in this 2-year war. I saw the African Union's peace negotiator said it could have been up to 600,000 people killed in the fighting. On top of that, millions of people have been displaced and driven out of their homes. We're just a little podcast in LA. We've trying to cover this war as much as we can, but as you know better than anybody, it's challenging for journalists to get into the region to cover the war. It's challenging to get information out. What do you think people should know about what's happening that hasn't been covered?
Yeah, the thing that happening as I told you earlier is the worst thing, because the number it's the reported number. 500,000 is the reported number. So you can imagine the unreported one.
Right.
We can imagine. I saw with my eyes, a lot of funerals. I saw everything as much as I can. As a journalist, in order to report things from the place, it was very difficult especially going to the Tigray area, because it's already controlled by the regional government. So we cannot go. We were not able to go there and to cover the news. But I tried to move to Afar and Amhara, which was under the control of the federal government, so that I can have so many interviews with the victims. I can have so many videos, how things were missed, how things were destroyed. We lost so many lives. I had an interview with women and children who were victims of the war. Not only the war, but also they were victim of sexually victimed. They were raped by soldiers, and I interviewed them. They are in a serious of problem. Still they are under refugee centers. They're living in refugee camps. So the thing for the reporters is you cannot go and see. So we get, especially the situation in Tigray, we get information from the international communities that they have possibilities. So we were not able to see what's happening. And still we are not able, still after the negotiation is going on, journalists, human rights activists, they cannot go there and see what's happening. There is no also external investigation in both Amhara and Tigray regional states.
Yeah.
We need an external investigation. We need accountability for war crimes. But in order to do this, we need to have someone or some group to have external investigation on both regional states. Yeah.
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up, because Tony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, was in Ethiopia a couple days ago.
Yeah.
We're filming this on Friday, March 17th. He called for accountability for atrocities committed during the war. I'm wondering, like, what do you think accountability for these war crimes would look like? What needs to happen?
I appreciate that, but I don't think it works easily. What's happening there is under both governments, the federal and the regional governments are accountable for it. Whatever it takes, they are the one who is leading the war. The federal government and again the regional government in Tigray. So both of them they're responsible for what's happening there, for the crimes, as a leader, as a participant of the war. And the peace negotiation is again between them in order to keep their power. You know what? The peace agreement, for me, it is because they cannot go more. They did it because they can't go more. Because we have been advocating this from the very beginning, to sit down and to solve their problems. The issue is politics. The issue is power. So that sit down and discuss before the war. They fought for 2 years. They killed everyone. They destroyed everything. They put us back to 30 years. And then finally, they know that they cannot go beyond this. They cannot win each other. So they come and sit down.
So they talk. I also noticed that Tony said, here's a quote, "For our part, the United States acknowledges human rights violations and repression committed during the past few decades, actions which sowed the seeds of future conflict. We and others were insufficiently vocal about these abuses in the past." Is there a sense of frustration among the Ethiopian people that the United States or other Western countries were silent about previous abuses that maybe sort of led to the conflict that's been happening?
Yeah. Me, myself, also frustrated about it. The thing is not only about the northern issue. In my country, there is also a serious problem, especially in the eastern part of Ethiopia, which is Oromia regional state. People are under the threat of ethnic cleansing. People are under the threat of genocide. The Amhara people are under the threat of genocide. People are killed every day. A bunch of people are dying, are killed because of their ethnicity, because who they are. Right now, 1.2 million people are displaced from the Oromia regional states. 1.2 Amharas are displaced from a regional states. So I don't know why the community keep silent, especially the international community, the Westerners, the U.S. government. Even Anthony Blinken, he doesn't mention anything in his stay. I have a
about
question.
The treatment of the Amhara people.
Yeah, because it's not only about the northern conflict that we are frustrated. The northern conflict, we appreciate that at least there's a ceasefire. At least people are not dying right now.
Yeah.
At least people are not displaced right now. But in the eastern part, there is a state-sponsored genocide, I can say this way. Because people are killed because of who they are. There's no any reason back. And they officially said, the rebelling groups, the OLA group, they said they have to leave our place. If not, we will clean them. This is with the sentence that already they put. So we need the international community to interfere here. We need to speak out. Anywhere injustices everywhere.
Right. The sort of, I think the biggest action the United States has taken was to expel Ethiopia from the African Growth and Opportunity Act trade agreement, I think in 2021, as a way to punish the government for human rights abuses. Do you think that had an impact on Abiy's thinking, decision-making?
Yeah, if there is, this is the 21st century, so we need to work with the international community. We need to work with the globe, especially as a third world, as a poor country. We don't have a place to live alone. We cannot do that. We are looking for different help us. We are looking for different budgets. So as a government of Ethiopia, it's a pressure. It's a big pressure. And I really appreciate that because we need to do this again at dictator governments like Abiy Ahmed. He the one who is putting the people of Ethiopia under this situation. After his leadership came in Ethiopia, we are losing so many people due to their ethnic identity, due to war conflicts, due to even unknown reasons. We have an issue of survival. Mm-hmm. Previously, we had a question of democracy or something. It becomes luxury for us, asking for your democratic right and something like that. It's a luxury for Ethiopians. We are under the question of survival issue. So the world need to put a pressure. So it's one thing that makes a pressure, and then that makes them to sit down and talk.
Who else could help with that pressure? Is like the African Union? I mean, I think the United States, I think a lot of European countries need to be very thoughtful and careful about telling countries in Africa what to do or how to act or pushing for democracy, right? So I'm just wondering where you think the appropriate pressure should come from.
Yeah. The first one is the United States, obviously, and then they are doing their best, but we need more. We need more in different perspectives, not only in the issue of the northern conflict.
Okay.
At all levels, because all are our threats as a community. The other thing, the European Union, the United Nations, and also different human rights advocates, they have to be concerned about it. And we need their voice for our people so that the world dominators they can hear. Mm-hmm. Because we are the only who are speaking and crying and shouting again and again. Genocide, war, conflict, we're the ones. So we need those communities who work for people, just who works for human being. We need their voices so that we can be heard under those who are there to hear.
Right. Just lift them up. I think the Prime Minister Abiy was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019 for his work to resolve Ethiopia's border dispute with Eritrea. He later partnered with Eritrean forces to attack forces in the Tigray region, kicking off this war. What did the Western world miss about Abiy to get him so wrong that they could offer this man a Nobel Peace Prize a year before, launching this war?
Yeah, the thing that, from the very beginning, I had a question. Personally, I had a question, and I faced a lot of hates. I faced a lot of insults because I was asking the people, I was asking the world, those who even give him the prize, what did you see? What did he do? What the thing that makes you to believe in Abiy Ahmed? We believe him just because he's new. And or most of the people, because they hate TPLF, because they don't want to, we were fighting and struggling against the TPLF. It was one of the dictator governments. Mm-hmm. So it just because we were struggling and hating the TPLF cannot make Abiy Ahmed correct. We have to see him, what he's going to do. So the situation between Eritrea and Ethiopia also, my question, what was the peace agreement? Why we were not signing, why we were not together, and then what's happening new. It was a kind of honeymoon between Abiy Ahmed and Isaias. It seems like that for me. I was asking that. I don't know how the international community puts the trust or those who prize him. I don't know how they see it. That was my question too. And the world, the one who gives the prize and seeing what's happening there. And you will see worse. I assure you, between these two countries and between these two leaders, mm-hmm. There's something we will hear and see in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they needed more independent media reporting on the facts and the reality.
Yeah, we need.
Well, so last question. I mean, I think a lot of people are listening to this, and I think, they hear a lot about, I don't mean to compare the two, but they hear a lot about Ukraine and the fighting, and there are, I think, clear ways to help people that were displaced from Ukraine or refugees, or the United States is giving weapons. What do you think the average listener or sort of citizen in the U.S. can do to either raise awareness about what's happening in Ethiopia or actually help people on the ground?
Yeah, I can see that a lot of Americans, including the State Department, and everywhere you see, they have a good knowledge, they have a good heart for the situation in Ukraine. That's I appreciate. That's what I appreciate. But and I see a lot of people doesn't know anything about Ethiopians who are suffering there for both the political and the ethnic issues. You know, we have so many people displaced. We are losing so many people due to the civil war. And again, the worst thing is happening now, right now. A lot of people are dying because of who they are, especially with the Oromia regional state, and in which the government bodies are participating in it. I can say this boldly. The government, especially the Oromia regional government, is the one acting on Amhara genocide, which is continuous in Oromia regional state. So we need the American people, the human rights advocates, the State Department, the government officials to focus on it, and then to be voice for them, at least at the minimum cost.
Well, thank you so much for being here and helping us understand this better and raising awareness. Where can people find your work?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. People can find my work in my YouTube channel, Roha TV. And also we have a TikTok, we have websites there, and then we have also Facebook and Instagram pages that you can follow and share the news that we are
Okay,
having.
great. Well, everyone check it out. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Max and Meaza Mohammed for joining the show. It's going to be very funny when this comes out and then they don't arrest Trump ever and it was all just made up on Truth Social.
Yeah. Like I still have like mixed feelings about the porn star being the lead arrest of the slate.
And not January 6th.
And not like the violent insurrection, but, you know, it'd still be, you know, high entertainment value.
You know who's excited about this? Cable news.
A lot of content.
Yeah, cable news shows.
This will create a lot of content.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.